Peace and Black Power. It's your brother Knowledge Born Allah here on Do Knowledge Radio. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio here on day 3, the 3rd of March, talking about what it means to actually do the knowledge. I'm going to go through and share some things with the family, pardon my lateness, but I'm here. We're about to get started right after these messages.
Introduce yourself, let them know what it's about,
Okay.
what you represent.
I'm Ramona Africa, Minister of Communication for the MOVE organization. I am the sole adult survivor of the May 13, 1985 government bombing and murder of my family. I am a representative of the International Concerned Family Friends of Mumia. I'm a former political prisoner. I did 7 years in prison for surviving that massacre. But most importantly, I am a revolutionary disciple of John African, MOVE's founder. And I don't hesitate or back up or apologize for saying I am a revolutionary.
This time I follow the star. This time I follow the star. This time I follow the star. This time
Nah, I ain't got a lot of views or a bunch of fake followers, that's not the move. But from the solid type, I'm approved. Stuff for who I'm comfortable. What I got to prove? Zach tried to warn me. Most were not before me. Won't like it or post a comment, but they watch his story. Might be yanking sleep, but they eyes be on me. Won't believe till I'm on that podcast with Nori. Or Flat TV, next to Lazada BP. Envy ran me like See the God and Angela Yee. And got a nerve to tell me keep working. Like I don't know, they hope I fool, keep lurking. Creating my own wave, keep surfing. Spitting pain is a layup like G. Gervin. Big play for lyricism returning. So many accolades, P earned them. I came to set it, tell them lay embedded. Just have my money straight, I ain't taking debit. They ain't gotta like me long as they respect it. And the ones that fronted on me know that they regret it. I'm making way more noise than they expected. Control the game while they the contestants. Legendary King P's, and I'm here to make it great for MCs. Again, I chose to make a lane before I played the game. So never in jeopardy to gain a name. I knew the sun would shine for all the days of rain. I wish everybody would. Can y'all say the same? Unify, die. Let's build each other up instead of crucify. Unify, die. The best is yet to come. Follow the signs. Some just had the skill and some don't. Some will and some won't. But who am I to judge? Well respected and connected, making moves, but I done plug. Westbrook flows and boosts, I drop a triple dub. They hoping I lose, but they know how I move. Stand on my lonely, letting nothing hold me, showing I prove. Shine bright, me and this mic tight like Smokey and Cube. Stick together, these peasants don't want no smoke, keep it cool. Please advise them, stop imitating, I see them jotting. City on my back in this way, and I need no proxing. Lane taking they stuff, no need to mop them. Ain't fading PZ, AC/DC, I keep it rocking. Grew up in the time when they was junior black mobbing. I was on the stoop wildin', bumping Coochie rap album. Polarized, I see it vivid. Up the top, no need to script it. On my grind of reaching ticket, planes are stopping me, forget it. Jewel dropper, solid as a rock, I move proper. Got true honor, my word is my bond. Superb with wordplay, I ain't got a curse when I rhyme. None before me, none to come. First of my kind, can't spin me with a 360. Put way too many hours in. Time to strip in the city. Babies need empowerment. Hurt me staying bottled in. Murder rate towering. The game been in need of relief. Is you following? I chose to make a lane before I played the game. So never in jeopardy to gain a name. I knew the sun would shine for all the days of rain. I wish everybody would. Can y'all say the same? Unify, die. Let's build each other up instead of crucify. Unify, die. The best is yet to come. Follow the signs.
death, depression, divorce, debt, devastation, deadbeat, despair. There is a black male mental health struggle. I became a therapist in therapy. The unsustainability of black male trauma, black male rage, black male resentment is a real thing, an unsustainable thing. So what's the struggle? 1 in 4 psychologists are black. And when I say black, I mean that includes black men and black women. According to the American Psychological Association, 4% psychologists worldwide, in this country, are black. For every 100,000 black Americans, only 1 black psychiatrist. 7% of black men received any form of mental health services in the last couple years. Right? Black youth, particularly black boys, are introduced with the struggle of mental health at a very early age. It's treated in elementary school by suspensions or special education referrals. What's the black struggle? That's it. The inadequacy of practitioners who look like black men, who have a unique experience with mental health. Right? What does that mean for all of us? The current mental health industry does not sustain black male trauma, black male rage, black male resentment, which means we have to look at the factors that are uniquely attributed to black males in this country. What makes me qualified to talk about black male mental health struggle? Well, beyond the obvious of being a black male, I crashed in 2008, the year the mortgage industry crashed, the real estate market, right? That same year, my mother informed me she had stage 4 cancer. In 2009, I became a father for the 4th time. But this time was unique because the child was already 21 years old, which means right before my 17th birthday, I had a child. In 2010, my mother ended up passing away from cancer. I moved her from Chicago to Georgia before the diagnosis to live out her golden years under the sun of the South, to work with me and for me. She ended up passing. In 2011, I went to what I now label as a very eventful divorce. I lost everything. I walked away from everything. I lost my family, my spouse at the time away from the children, assets, things of that nature. In 2012, I experienced my very first panic attack. I found myself in the middle of a public park here in Atlanta, lying on my back, crying profusely for what seems like hours. In 2013, I had my second panic attack. This one was different. This one, I was with the partner at the time, and she said that she overheard me saying some things that were troubling. Later on that day, I had a special event I needed to be at. My friend at the time took me to the local emergency room because as black males, that is how we address our mental health struggles, right? When it really gets to a point, you have to see someone at the local hospital emergency room. So, of course, they kept me 72 hours, suicide watch. I missed the court date. My partner at the time took the signed medical excuse to court at the time that I was supposed to report. The judge refused it, subsequently generating a bench warrant, and I eventually had to address that. That same year, 2013, my father passed, just when we were attempting to repair a 40-plus year fragmented, fragile, broken relationship. He passed. Went to Chicago, did the mourning, came back to Atlanta. 2 days after mourning my dad's death, I was pulled over by local law enforcement. I had to settle that warrant from a few months earlier. So for the next 57 days, I sat in a jail cell, in a jumpsuit, grieving what I thought initially was only my father's death. What I now know was all of the stressors, the losses, the trauma, the rage, the resentment I had since I crashed the same year the mortgage and real estate market crashed. So during that time, I went to 5 different therapists. Now, I wasn't shy from therapy because my mother, bless her heart, she was ahead of her time. She took me to see a therapist in high school. We're talking in the 80s. The good thing is it ended up being family therapy, and we learned a lot of tools and strategies that really benefited us. But when it was my time, during 2008 to 2013, it felt differently, right? But I still went. I went to 5 different. The first 4, nothing. It was cool to share my struggles, but I didn't get any help. Why? Because it was irrelevant, right? The practitioners who did not look like me were culturally incompetent. They meant well. I didn't have time to teach them about my lived experiences. I needed tools and strategies. I needed them like yesterday. So after going through 4 different therapists, I gave up on therapy. I knew I was in trouble. It was evidence in my life. I still didn't know where to go. Good friend urged me to take one more attempt to finding a therapist. So I did. Found this gentleman. Walked in his office. I knew the drill, right? Sat down, poured out my heart, right? For the next 30, 35 minutes. And at the end of my
Here, the centuries of loneliness were to end. Your collection of Leonardo da Vinci masterpieces, Mr. Flint. They appear to have been recently painted on contemporary canvas with contemporary materials.
Then, age, death, the taste of dust. Do you understand?
You wanted a perfect, ultimate woman. As brilliant, as immortal as yourself. Your mate for all time.
Merkaba master, I charted demons to other worlds, drop devils to plaster, rush them to hell, breathing asthma, place Satan on gurneys next to Hermes, send them off to their journey to Cleopatra. They read those chapters, egos captured, the Leo laughter, neoplasma, run through my veins in this matrix, and my basement became a plaza. And now I'm in the Sky Lounge with negative spirit hackers, build on math and we read the chapters, observe through our windows at the quiet disasters, riots at NASA, marches, gender pride, freedom rights for the masses, till we do away with first and second citizen classes. Religion is backwards, trying to comprehend to the pastor. This gym is like Jasper. Either we all live and strive for the youth to survive, or it all ends with the rapture. Forget waiting on the man, I'm making a plan. And for the ages of false statements, I'm taking a stand. Start an investigation on Satan with a cross in my hand. Make him plead guilty, now face the jury. We're in the courts of I am. If I could just vanish from off the planet, like magic, become caught from granite. Days, mathematics is understanding.
Hey, hey, did you hear? There's
This is the perfect place to disappear. Did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear. A billion stories in the naked city. Ghost told me that his best friend needs a kidney. We froze, reminiscing Tiffany in the cold. Open whiskey from the 20s in the memory. Sympathy made the angels play a symphony. Said he could've had a scholarship. Toured different colleges. Now he's out of it, fading away slowly on dialysis. His name remained anonymous, but here's my acknowledgements. Street legends and hood guards. Kingdom fall into a mirage. Ghetto depression sets in. Then we play sweet as cigars. A child has difficulties concentrating. From where he lives, he sees his promises fading. He sees his pops gone, his mom's is aging. She trying to stay strong for a church congregation. And meanwhile, a kid named Rico was the coke king. A lot of siblings of the dope fiends hope you scream. A lot of children with broken dreams, homes were clean. The most extreme, you got rich and what you sold to queens. Look what you did to Josephine. And Ebony is unheavenly. The devil's ready with open wings. As Lucifer uses love and his youthful mug. Then his blood on the cobra's fangs. Hey, hey, did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear. Did you hear? This is the perfect place to disappear.
Through the mid.
YouTube going crazy over here. You understand what I'm saying? Shout out to Dr. Jasper. He was a guest here on Do Not Radio, and I played the video then of his TED Talk, and it was no issues. That's why I played it today. But you know how it goes. You know how it goes. Salute to the family. Ursula in the building, Stepan, and all of the family in the building. Want to make sure y'all can hear me okay. Let me know if I'm good to go before I start reading. I got some reading to do today over here. Am I good to go? Let me check. See my fam over here. D skills. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to read from this book, Remember No Seer, because we're going to talk about what it means to be knowledge and, you know, what that means for this particular platform and this for my life, right? From Nameless to Knowledge was the book that I wrote with the intention of, you know, sharing some of my thoughts. Maybe I'll read a couple reflections from that as well. But Do the Knowledge Radio was built off of the term Do the Knowledge, right? And Do the Knowledge is a systematic process of a filtration system that you take information that you receive and you take it through a variance of degrees of test. So you receive some information, right? You look at it, and there's a process to go about to convert it from information into knowledge. Just because you hear something does not mean that it is converting through your synapses as knowledge, right? So this is why you hear people say, knowledge ain't nothing if it ain't applied. So let's stop right there real quick and ask them, what's the process do you come about to know something? How do you know that it exists? How do you know that what you're dealing with is something that you know? You can go through that process of collecting and gathering information. There's a process of questioning. There's a process of research. There's a process of study. There's a process of test. How do you know what you know? So over here on Do Knowledge, we do the knowledge. That means that is an active process, a continual activation process of learning, observing, studying, researching, highlighting, celebrating, and then we arrive at knowledge. It's a process, it's a journey, a pathway to get there. And it takes you going from the void where everything is wonderful to qualification. What do you know? Do you know self? You hear people say, hey, you know thyself, or knowledge of self, or self-knowledge, all of those things. What's the process? So there's a story on how you arrived at what you know. When you apply what you know, that becomes wisdom. So if y'all saw in the little description of the episode, wisdom is knowledge applied. So there's a process to go from knowledge to wisdom. There's a knowledge degree in between. There's a step, a holistic step, 100% process to go from knowledge to wisdom. You might know something. How do you apply what you know? So there's a set of circumstances that you begin to go through that mathematical equation and process of working that situation or working whatever comes that you've received that you've converted into knowledge to apply it. How do you apply what you know? It's a process. Then after you apply what you know, how do you understand what you know? So in my culture, they say understanding is the best part. You learned something, you went through the process of knowing it, now you know how to apply it. Now you arrive at understanding. Understanding is like, now I know why I learned this. Now I know why I applied it. Understand that. So there's understanding in that process, right? So understanding becomes the best part because after you go through the process of understanding, you can begin to live this thing out that you know. This is where the evidence comes, right? So there's a process of arriving at knowledge, then there's a process to arrive at wisdom, then there's another process to arrive at understanding. And then after that, the evidence becomes how you live. They said when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. When you do better, there's a process of you understanding why you're able to do better. Now, the evidence becomes in how you live. Okay? So, Do Not Radio was birthed out of that process. There was a void. So, Dr. Jasper earlier was talking about Black mental health, not from the outside perspective, from the inside perspective. From his own life, he said he became a therapist in therapy. And he gave some statistics and numbers in per capita, 100,000 Black people in America. It's only a couple of therapists for them. So the process of determining a void, there's a void to be filled. There's a void to be filled that is bombarded with generational acceptance of the traumas and the ills and the hells that plague the Black psyche, the Black family, the physical structure. All of these maladies have ramifications that show up in your life on every level, internally and externally. And the external maladies are a result of internal maladies. So let me read this book from There. by one of my teachers, Nasuo Haninsu. Let me just read a couple of paragraphs on this story. This is chapter 2, the Assyrian tradition. This is the story of the firstborn son of Newton Geb. Newton Geb in the Nile Valley culture is heaven and earth. Osir and his family. Osir was born in Nubia out of the union of Newton Geb. When Osir came of age, he married Osset, and the two of them left their home and traveled to Kemet to settle and create something for themselves. So they weren't born in Kemet. They were born in Nubia. And this is their story. This is their, traditions being, lived out loud via oral tradition, right? So they wanted to create something for themselves. When they entered into Kemet, they found the land in a state of chaos. So when they talk about Nile Valley, there's a process of reformation that had to take place. So when you look at chaos and confusion in your life, where do you start? Where do you start? How do you become determined what's a priority first? So they're talking about this right now. They found the land in a state of chaos. The land was uncultivated. It lacked definition, and there were no borders or channels. There they found people in a savage state. So now they made an analogy, right? They made an analogy. The uncultivated land, if there's no, the land's not cultivated, excuse me, then what is the state of the condition of the people? If you have chaos and confusion in your life, in your home, what state of condition are you going to be in? If you have hell in your mind and hell in your spirit, you're going to have hell in your life. Because heaven and hell, from these perspectives, are states of mind and states of being. You could want heaven, right? Or Mark would definitely say, every man want heaven, nobody want to die. That every man want heaven, nobody want to die. So nobody wants that the death of that hellified state of mind or state of being that they exist in, to give that up for heaven. So heaven in your mental, heaven in your spirit, heaven in your life. If it's in your mind and in your spirit, you're going to start to bring these things about in your life. You're going to start to remove those things and those people that exist in your life that are hellified. Okay? So this uncultivated land, and the people in the savage state, the people preyed upon one another, robbing and killing, the next just for bread, and sometimes for sport. Y'all hear that? This isn't the cookie cutter thing we've been told about, Kemet and the pyramids and Nile Valley culture and this and this. This is down and dirty. This is their oral tradition as told from primary text and sources and research, deducing and telling the story in a way that we find ourselves. If there's no new people, if the Bible said there's nothing new under the sun, there's no new people, like there's no new water. So it's a process of refining and filtration, like regeneration in regards to life. So if the land was in chaos and the people was in chaos, we'll find themselves in a very chaotic sort of state, right? So they were, taking each other's lives for bread and for sport, for fun, okay? All right, so go back to read real quick. Due to the lack of knowledge of agriculture and land cultivation, the land was impoverished and lacked food, and the people resorted to eating one another. After objectively observing the situation, Osir made an assessment and knew exactly what to do. I see potential, Osir said, with a smile on his face. Now, this descriptive writing about the state of the land and the state of the people, Osir and Osset coming in here to make something for themselves, to establish a a place where they're going to live and the generations were going to dwell. And all this chaos and confusion, Osiris is not dismayed by what he sees. He's smiling. He's like, yo, all right, I see potential. Oh, man. Now, Aset wasn't having that. Aset looked quizzically as she turned around. She turned from the sight of a man biting a chunk out of another man's leg. Aset grabbed her and smiled. Chaos precedes order, my dear. The very existence of chaos contains within it the seed, the potential of order, said Osir. Osir then walked up to the man that was eating another man and asked him some questions. Why are you eating this man? Said Osir. Why does any man eat? I'm hungry, so I have to eat, the man replied. Yes, that is true. But why are you eating this man? Osir asked. Because we've eaten all of the animals, so man is all that is left, he replied. What then will you eat when you're the only man left? Osir asked gently with a smile on his face. The man thought about it for a second as tears fell from his eyes, for he knew that without other men, he would surely die. Osir, seeing that he has reached the man's consciousness, he began to teach him. Surely life is eternal, and when the food that perpetuates life has a root and contains a seed, that when the leaves and the fruit thereof have been eaten, you will find hidden within it a seed containing potential of the tree, the leaf, and the fruit, that once planted in fertile soil will yield a harvest that will be self-perpetuating, granting you life for lifetime, said Osir. If you eat the fruit or the leaf of the tree or the plant, you will find that they will all live again. However, if you eat a man or an animal, you will not find them self-perpetuating. For as they, as well as you, will eventually die, and you will not have a seed nor soil from whence to sprout again, Osir said. The man then stopped what he was doing and humbled himself before Osir's wisdom, of which he had no doubt was divine in origin. Would you please teach me how to cultivate the land? The man asked. Seeing that the man was fully receptive, Osir agreed. Osir then healed and restored the man that was being eaten and taught the two men how to harmonize and work together. In this manner, Osir went about establishing Ma'at, law and order in the land. With the law being established, Osir and Aset proceeded to teach the people how to cultivate the land. Read that real quick. So I saw the difference between being informed about something and then actually going through the process in real time of arriving at what you know. So you go through the spaces of skepticism, you go through all of these things, right, before you arrive at something. Yesterday when I was sharing, the story about the first episode, I went through all of these kinds of thoughts of preparing myself to start this program, but also wondering if I was qualified, if I was the person that was supposed to undertake this task. So just like in the story with the man eating the other man, these thoughts begin to eat away at me. So when you're thinking about your goals, when you think about your aim, when you're thinking about your objectives, you think about that process, right? You could appear to know something with a surety. So in that process of going from knowledge to wisdom in that aspect, you're being plagued by self-defeating thoughts as well. They're seeking to eat at you, to eat at your consciousness, to eat at your ability to be able to do that. Like, how are you going to do that? You ever told somebody you love an idea that you had? Just think about it for a second. You ever told somebody about an idea you had to do something, and the first question they asked you was, "How you gonna do that?" Let me know in the chat. Tell me, you know, uh, yeah or no. Have you experienced that at all? Tell me something. Got to see if y'all still here in case the feed done went out and I didn't talk all of this junk to myself. You know what I'm saying? Tell me something. So if the first question that you were asked by someone was, how you gonna do that? All they did externally is reflect the question that you asked yourself internally, but you're surprised about their response. Their response mirrors the response that you had in your head. So in that moment right there, you have a chance to be able to see, okay, is this something I really want to do? Am I capable? And am I qualified? You start going through all of these aspects in regards to talking yourself out of doing something. That's an aspect in Nile Valley culture that they called uh, self-preservation, right? They called it self-preservation, but it was represented by a force that they called Sutesh. And Sutesh was mighty, and he was the brother of Osir, right? So the chaos and the confusion that was happening in the land, that's his force, right? That's his force. His force is dealing with, you know, uh the land being whatever it is, the animals, being ravished and all of those things. That's a force of doubt that exists within you that wants to keep you safe. So that aspect of self-preservation, like, nah, you ain't supposed to be doing this. Just chill. But Osir's son Heru is telling you, nah, you gotta act. You gotta get involved. You understand what I'm saying? This is where the word hero comes from, as they reported. So Heru follows after his father in that regard. He follows in his father's footsteps and his mother's footsteps. So he's an obedient son that follows after his father. They called that the Shimsu Heru, one who follows after his father. Are we dutiful in that kind of way? So if the father is the consciousness, then who is the son? The son gives you the set ability to be able to apply what you know. All right. So you dealing with the application of father, mother, son. How do you become father? How do you become son? Via mother. All right. How does one become father? How does one become son? Through mother. So Aset was one who was dismayed by what she saw, and she turned away. It looked squeamish in that kind of way. And wisdom is how you walk and how you talk, if they're congruent together. So when I read about Osir teaching the two men to work together in harmony, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. They went from being at war with one another, physically trying to destroy one another, to working in harmony at once. That was the only way they could go about the process of cultivating the land, to apply what they had known, uh, you know, about the land, to properly go through the process of cultivation. So the understanding aspect is when the fruits of their labor started to come out of the ground and they begin to flourish in this place because their minds had begun to work in synchronicity with one another, and they no longer looked at the earth as uncultivated. They saw the earth for what she could offer them based off of their efforts. So looking at the ground and beginning to see that this was a endless source if it's properly cultivated. If there's a relationship with the earth, if you have a proper relationship with the earth and with the heavens, they agree and begin to work in harmony for you. As long as you're working in harmony with them. And something that was critical and key in the story is that the man put the trust in Osir. It was something that he did. He put his trust in him and said, oh, okay, what you're saying is the truth, and it's divine in origin. So here's these people coming in, from Nubia into Kemet, and they wanted to make something for themselves. If they were dismayed by what they saw, they would have left. So one aspect of you is saying, oh, I see this potential. And the other aspect of you is like, where the hell you see that at? So when one aspect of yourself points this out to the other aspect of yourself, you start looking now different. And then they begin to harmonize. So now those aspects of yourself that were doubting and self defeating now come into existence to where they start to work together in harmony. So just as the two men externally, it was these forces internally that they're speaking about that begin to guide them. So when we look at family, this is what we look at. We don't have a bunch of individuals together that just happenstance to be in the family, right? So with that process of doing the knowledge, that's what that meant. That's what this mission is, right? I began looking for black people to uplift, black people just to listen. Like, you ever been somewhere and people don't want to listen? They don't want to listen to nothing. Or you're not accustomed to being in situations where you're not being heard. Like you're accustomed to somebody interjecting, cutting you off, all of that stuff. So when you're in an environment where somebody's quiet and they're listening to you, you don't know what to do. You start apologizing, you start, doubting yourself, you start going through all of these processes and all of that. And the person is just there listening to you. So when Dr. Jasper was talking about therapy and therapy, as a black man working with black people, the black people who had come to see him is looking at him like, you a doctor? I ain't never seen that. So the men and the young brothers that was coming to see him, and he in there with his sneakers on. You understand what I'm saying? He not in there, looking like what they would expect. He got a tracksuit on sometimes. He is who he is. That's who he chose to be. He wanted them to look at him and be relatable to themselves. So when we look for things and people that we agree with, we're only really looking at those things within the people that we agree within ourselves. So we're looking for ourselves in one another. In the moment you see something or hear something you don't agree with, then you start to speak out against that, or you remove yourself from the situation. So that means you didn't see those aspects of yourself anymore in that other person. So opposites attract, unlike repel, like repel, how that process goes. So when we're talking about that story or we're talking about the story of Do Now's Radio, there's a process of that. So when I said I wanted to do this, I told you, my brother YG Preach was like, yo, if you do this, that's on you. Ain't got, I can't. And he was honest. He told me that he could do a couple of things for me, but I would have to do most of these things on my own. So I took on, the challenge and the task. And as I talked about the episode yesterday, even played a little bit of the episode, it was brought back to my, material view that even after it was done, those thoughts that I had thought had subsided, they returned. they returned, and I was going through my own tug of war, and my brother YG Preacher called me. He was like, "Yo, that show, man, you sure you ain't never did this before?" But we had all kinds of people on there, and everything was. I was like, man, I'm like, what episode did he listen to? Because I'm over here frantic and freaking out. Okay, frantic and freaking out. I'm like, what is he talking about? So that had to be an aspect of something that was in me that he recognized and he able to speak to quiet the noise, and then I could go along the path to continue to go on. Because if it was up to me, that was it. It'd be like one episode. There ain't no 4,000 episodes, and 11 years later, it was just one and done. What is consciousness? All right. And along this journey of doing the knowledge, it's lonely. It was lonely. I didn't know if anybody was listening to me. I was talking loud into my computer or talking loud into my phone, all of this stuff. I didn't know if anybody actually heard what was happening other than me and whomever the person that might have come on, or whatever organization might have come on, or whomever that is, that process. You don't really get an opportunity to see the fruits of your labor until you go back. So I wouldn't go back and listen to any of these episodes. It wasn't until recently when I started the process of writing the books for Do Knowledge Radio's Greatest Guest that I started listening to the archives. And I was like, oh, damn, that was dope. I'm listening because in the moment you can't enjoy it because you're so busy working that you can't even enjoy the experience. You're working, right? So now I had to find a way to do both, to enjoy the experience and still work at the same time. So I'm cultivating that, right now. And this is what this month is about. Because once it starts to feel like work, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do it no more. You're like, man, forget that. You understand what I'm saying? So in that process of cultivating the land, converting what looks like not useful land into useful land, what does that look like in your life? What does that look like on your path? Because it's your path. It ain't everybody's path. So when the people's like, yo, you bugging out, you tripping, couldn't be me. They start saying all of that stuff. Because it's not them. It's you. It's your path. I guarantee you though, once that path start popping, people start popping up. Like, yo, what's you know what I'm saying? I knew you could do it, son. You know what I'm saying? That's how they be talking to me. I knew you could do it, son. You know what I'm saying? We was rooting for you the whole time, son. Like, where you been at for the last decade? Well, we were just watching, son. You know what I'm saying? We was letting you do your thing. Now we here, son. How can I be down? What can I do? I see you with these people, son. You know what I'm saying? What you need me to do, son? So that's how people do, though. They watch you. Your family members, your friends, they watch you. They watch you and see what you do and how you handle these things that come along with it. And then out of there, get on board or they won't. Either way, it ain't got nothing to do with you. It got everything to do with them. But it actually do got everything to do with you. Because if you fall, they'll fall with you. If you rise, they'll rise with you. If that's what they're supposed to do. So yeah, this is a little interesting thing when you start to look at, what does it mean to do the knowledge? So hopefully, when y'all hear me say, yo, I'm gonna do the knowledge to that. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna observe it. I'm gonna learn from it. But most of all, I'm going to respect it. Dr. Joy DeGruy, she has a functional definition for respect that I honor. She said, respect means to look again. Do you know how much honor it is in that too? It's like, all right, some folks say, well, now you should just get it right the first time. Should have just seen what I said. Like, all right, But when you spec means to look. Re means the prefix again. Look again. So look again. Upon that second look, or however many looks you have to look, once you look again, you might be able to see where somebody else is coming from. Because you want that's the goal. That's the goal of those interactions. You want somebody to see where you're coming from. Understanding is to see things clearly for what they are and not what they appear to be. So what does that mean? You have to look at it as many times as you need to look at it to arrive at that space of understanding. So how you see that matters. How you see yourself matters. So, we're doing this process of arriving at knowledge. It's a journey. In the Nile Valley culture, they deal with something called Iri Ma'at. So that means do Ma'at, right? My brother, Feru Ma'at, has a nonprofit organization called Be Ma'at Inc. So from Iri Ma'at to do Ma'at to be Ma'at. Yesterday I was talking about Bill Duke, and he was talking when he did an interview here. I heard him in a previous interview, and I asked him a question. I said, "You reject the notion of the word acting, actor, actress, and you talked about you don't act, you become." And he smiled, and he looked at me with a level of admiration because somebody heard what he was saying. They said, "Yeah, you don't act, you become." So I was on an interview yesterday with one of my queen mothers, uh, Mama Rue, unread book. Shout out to her and my brother, Mr. Westbrook. They got unread book club, and I was on there. And Queen Mother asked me about how do you choose who you profile in your book. And I was like, in this ebook series of interviews, that's the greatest question that I've been asked. How do you select who you profile? I said, I don't. I said, they select me. So when I talk to authors, quite a few authors have been on this platform. Uh, Bill Duke is one that I talked about. Zane is another, and Zane's daughter they both have been on this platform. And a bunch of directors, a bunch of people who do skits and things like that, comedians, whatever the like. When they begin to tell the stories, the characters come to them. They come to them and they bother them. They bother them all night. If y'all seen that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg, before she decided to help him, she had to come to grips that, okay, I could actually do this. I thought I was a fake and a phony, and he was out there bothering her all night, singing that Henry VIII song all night until she could come to the grips to say, okay, I actually have this gift and I'm going to share it and be a conduit for the unseen, for the seen world, because it's true. I was over here scamming and doing all of this other extra stuff and thought, I could fake it. Then it became real. It was a real gift. So he bothered her until she would stand in that. So she could hear him and sometimes she could see them. But she had the gift. She had to come to the grips that she had the gift. And the gift for everybody who's listening and everybody who will listen is your story. That's one of the greatest gifts that you can give to humanity, that you could give to the universe. One of the greatest ways you could honor God is to share your story in a way that's most authentic, to you. So I had no idea at the beginning of Do Now's Radio that this was going to be a part of my story. I was very concerned about the stories of others. So for the first decade of Do Now's Radio, it was themed and tagged as the voice of the voiceless. For the last decade, that's what it was. That's no longer what it is. So in that process of doing the knowledge, I had to have another space of application that is called being the voice of the voiceful. So we're no longer dealing in the scarcity, lack sort of mind state. We're dealing in the elevation of the voices of those who are full. They're full of life and they're full in the future. So those are the stories that we want to hear. Those stories of being triumphant. We went through the traumatic stories. Now we want to hear the voices of those who triumphed. So we got to walk through the traumatic story to get to the triumphant story. Let's walk. Let's go. There was a brother I interviewed, and he's prominent now. He was talking to me about, some of the worst times of his life. He just was around smiling. You understand what I'm saying? Like he was sleeping in his car, just going through all kinds of stuff. But he never stopped smiling. He never stopped looking for whatever God had designed for him. He never turned his back on that. He wasn't in that space of dismay. He did not become bitter. He continued to smile through towards his success point. So now that he's prominent in doing these things, he got the same smile. And he's helping other people get opportunities based off of what he was able to do. Somebody looked out for him, so he's looking out for people. And that's a beautiful thing. Now just look, listen, observe, but most of all, respect. So no matter how many times you look again, when you look at that particular space, you begin to find something or see something that you did not see before. All right? So that's enough for today, because y'all acting like y'all don't even want to talk to me no more. All right, it's all good. I'm about to get up out of here. And y'all could go mind somebody else's business, all right? Don't mind my business. Mind somebody else's business, all right? So I will see y'all tomorrow for day 4. Happy born day to my brother, Oba Adedayo. It's his born day today. Him and James Brown on the same day. I'm telling you, our Taurus is something else, okay? Something else, all right? So, join us here tomorrow for day 4 of these 31 days of content. It's been your brother, Knowledge Born Allah. And see you. See ya. Peace.
It's the Mark Moon.
Shit. Nah. Love the royal priesthood. Mark of Buddha, Sekou the Madman, Killer Priest, 4th Chambers, 4 Fuji. This beat sound like something I wear. You dig? Yo, hold on my people, why you walking around like you equal? They wrote you in as 3/5. What we gonna do about this? Talk too much, you end up like Jimi Hendrix in 27 Club. You want that knowledge? Well, I'm the plug. Knowledge itself is the drug. And I keep dropping the nugs. Culture pushing, wisdom spitting, pimping simpletons into listening. Yawning while you spewing fiction. I can feel the tensions in your intentions. I wonder if that's Johnson heaven. If God is white, why he write that bronze was the sun? They give us reparations, that's when the apocalypse begun. Yeah. Red rhyme, okay. Yeah, red rhyme, better rhyme. Grab your guns, daughters and sons. Wasn't long ago when they had us hung. Blood on the leaves, frontal crumbled in between. Exhale from my ancestors that prevailed. We inhale, so we inhale, dodging death every day. Just happy I'm here to tell the tale. Meanwhile, y'all with the pigs and them tattletales. I'ma just be a scientist if it all fails. Mixing chemicals like a cocktail. My tree smell like it's from the tropical. So not for sale, never settle. Follow the tears on the trail. Nah, 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 nah.
That whole African American thing is to omit, you see, the indigenous black man of this particular land. When we brought the African American term, we cut out all of the Caribbean, all of South America, all of Latin America. And this is another way to reclassify you, you see what I'm saying, outside of power.
We got blacks, whites, brown and yellow. We got red, those with dreads found from the ghetto. We got bullet-led and misled, the smile of the devil. On the face of the moon, heart pound like a rebel. Hear the sound of the metal. War in Iraq, 6 feet underground with the shovel. All over the map, the Bible said signs of the time. The Torah said that's your God, not mine. The Holy Quran says it's all Allah's design. The Buddhist says let's meet at the shrine. Thou shalt not eat of the swine. That you is the cut, sure as blue as the blood. Kill a priest in the temple, Nehru is the love.
That's a political move that was put in by the government to break you down to this subclass, you see, and not be a world community. So to call you an African American is to disconnect you from that global community and that great diaspora that we were talking about. So that's a political move. Yes, come on. The average Native American was this brother's complexion.